I was just like, okay, I can't be seeing this. Like, I don't understand what this is. It's like this African, this black man, unshirted, unshoed, no shoes on, serving this white man in like a Panama hat and like a suit on a sack of goods. And I was like, is it? And so the book tries to capture all of these surreal moments that define what it means to be Black, in the world, right? To be of the global majority, but to still feel less than in this society.
What are you, it's so funny because I think you mentioned earlier, like New Orleans it's an international port.
Yeah.
And so it's this odd juxtaposition of like big town, right? Like if you meet the right people, everybody's the right people, but you meet the right people here, everybody, right?
Yes,
you meet
absolutely.
3 people and they connect you to the rest of the city.
Absolutely.
Everybody's related.
Everyone's related.
Everybody's related by like blood, marriage, play cousins, etc.
Yeah.
And yet we're constantly engaging, and I would even offer influencing the rest of the world.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I say sort of since we got here, we've been, kind of innovating and pushing things forward and progressing, and in this kind of interesting continuum where it isn't really about just past, present, or future, but it's like kind of all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And like as a curator, I've been mostly fascinated with Afrofuturism for that reason, because it feels expansive enough to play with in some sense. And so I've kind of dug 10 toes down and said, like, I actually think New Orleans is the birthplace of Afrofuturism, like as a formalized method of surviving and thriving. And I like saying this because it always brings up a lot of emotion for people, because I like to engage in like what that could mean for us. But I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
I mean, I love it. First, let me sit with that for a second, because I think you're right in so many ways. We are always on the cusp of some sort of zeitgeist, right? And some sort of movement pushing things kind of forward. And I think there's such a convergence here. And people are always coming here seeking something, right? But like the cultural practitioners here, like we're still pushing things. And I don't know, I love that. I love that idea. I mean, this whole notion of Afrofuturism having like a locus here. I think, and if I can say this confidently, I think definitely it has a spiritual locus here. Like, I think you come here, there's so many creatives that I meet, all around the world. And they say when they go to New Orleans, they just felt like so inspired, right? And why is that, right? Is it just the food? Is it just the music? I think it's all of it. I think it's a lot of things that, you can't really define, but it's like in the ether, it's in the air, it's in the people, it's in the culture. Like, I think to your point, like we're all kind of related, we're all connected. It's, we have been talking here for in short time, we realized that we know 20 of the same people, right? I've left New Orleans and met, people that I've dated that knew my family, and like it was like our families. It was like, wait a minute, like I guess we have to now like take this more seriously, like because your dad knows my dad or whatever, and it's just like
I love that.
And it's just like, wait a minute, like we all grew up together, and so I think there's like a spiritual kind of core here in the city. I think, I would love to kind of see what is kind of created from here. I think there's a number of, I think, creatives who are descending upon New Orleans, and the community is growing. And I can see every time I come here, it's like, wow, there's this thing here, there's Prospect, there's, these other organizations that are really pushing, the narratives, and really also what I've loved in the recent past is like all of the new engagement around public art.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, we're going to take these things down, but guess what? Let's go like 10 steps further and let's kind of like decorate this place in ways that honor us and, in ways that I think it's beautiful. That's what I've been.
Yeah.
Every time I come home, I really am really in awe of like how the city is growing in that way.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I mean, that's like literally part of what like brought me back was I was doing organizing work for Acorn.
Uh-huh.
Ironic. I can't believe I'm saying that on camera. For the longest time, that was not on my resume at all. I was opening up offices all over. And so the Obama, win was this huge personal win as like a young person who was like, oh my goodness, we're on the brink of a new era.
Yeah.
But also it was bringing back or starting like the city's first biennial arts, contemporary arts biennial. So, you have this like, I now think about it in terms of like biennials are like these art experiments in which you bring the international contemporary art crowd to a place, you descend upon it. It's consumed, if not devoured, depending on how the people are in that particular place. New Orleans would never be devoured. And artists attempt in relatively short periods of time to like deeply connect with places. Like I actually haven't met an artist who doesn't care about the place that they're creating work. I feel like the artists I've encountered are really empathetic and really want to connect wherever they are. But that ultimately, it doesn't always have anything to do with the city itself, if that makes sense. And then poof, it's gone, right? And you don't hear about it until the next 2 years or 3 years or whatever that is. And I have followed biennials for that very reason. There's something fascinating about them that's like about the experiment of it all.
Yeah.
And they're highly problematic.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, as the art world is, I mean, they become these like really high art kind of expensive kind of productions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've seen this uptick, I mean, I think from when I left New York, where we've seen this uptick of like more younger contemporary Black artists that are like making their way into like that blue chip market where, Black is the trend. And you see all these artists that are finally able to have what we would consider a sustainable career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet they're still having to like, I think, struggle with what it is that they're creating, who they're creating it for, who gets to see it.
Yeah.
So to your point about like, I don't know, the public art world, aside from murals, which I'm now seeing a lot more of in New Orleans from Black muralists. It's still hard to find, sculptural things or 3D things that, that Black folks are making for the public sphere. And I'm going to tattle a little bit because like outside of the convention center, I sat in on one of the panels and it was a number of mostly white male artists who had a lot of experience with fabrication, with design, right? Which so much of that is about presentation and you understanding the panel, not necessarily about the creativity or the relevance of that piece.
Yeah.
And I remember having to really speak up in a room where, again, I'm a gatekeeper and say, hey, y'all, in the finalists, like there are no local artists and there are no Black artists.
Yeah.
I actually can't co-sign that.
Yeah, like what are we performing here? Well, like what are we saying with this
What
presentation?
are we saying? And so in New Orleans, and I really want to get your take on this because it's been this interesting dichotomy between like Black artists, the notion that Black artists don't have the skill set to scale and to create kind of serious public art or whatever that value system is around what the expectation is. And yet, the opportunities keep coming in because you see things pop up and it's like, okay, well, who's funding this and for whom and why? Yeah. So there's this like,
I think there's an incredible surge right now. I mean, one, there's like the wealth gap is continuing to kind of rise, right? And I think the truly wealthy are realizing, hey, look, there's ways in which we have to kind of keep our money, right? And safeguard it. And I think it really is benefiting some of your high profile artists. Like Titus Kaphar did my cover. He has an incredible documentary called Shut Up and Paint, where he talks about this conflict like I'm making art for Black people, but Black people by and large can't afford it.
Right.
And as a result, they're never going to see it, or if they do see it, like through what lens, right? And I think there has to be some sort of reckoning, because I think artists deserve to be paid,
right?
Full stop, right? But at what point, is it too far, right? And I think many artists, especially Black artists right now, recognize that what they are earning is probably beyond what is needed, right? And so they're giving back. They're creating foundations. They're giving they're doing workshops. They're really trying to kind of pull us up, right? But then, like, where do the museums kind of stand in, at that regard, in that conversation? Like, when are we going to start repatriating some of these, stolen artifacts? Like, when are we going to take some of these names of these wealthy families off of these galleries? And I think it's a really trippy kind of situation. I think I tell people this all the time. My favorite artist is Basquiat, and not necessarily just for his art, which is incredible, but just like what he represented, who he was as a person, but also some of the incredible challenges. I think he was one of the first, if you can say, one of the first who became incredibly wealthy, as a Black artist, and
a young Black artist,
and not knowing what all of it meant, and pouring his heart into these canvases to really honor us, to honor, the global majority.
And I would even add, to partner with you, I also feel like, ironically enough, he was like on the camera a lot, like he was in the media a lot. So like what we would consider like a modern day experience of like constant social media, constant paparazzi. I mean, that was kind of his experience of like coming of age with wealth and not a lot of experience and no real, like historical knowledge of like wealth in this country, right? And still trying to maintain that authenticity.
A sense of self, a sense of purpose. Right. And I mean, I say that in many ways. I don't know this to be true, but I'm sure it led to his overdose. It led to like his trauma. It led to need to kind of escape this world that was devouring him. Right. You talked about being devoured. And then at some point, artists have to kind of make that shift. I don't, like I said, artists deserve to be paid. And I think, you can't help others if you can't help yourself first, right? I mean, that's just our conversation. That's our narrative. It's almost like I have this argument with people all the time. Like, I have some biracial friends, white and Black, and then just talking about the history of passing, especially here in New Orleans, right? And especially, what it means to kind of have mobility, right? Money comes with mobility, but sometimes color does, skin color as well. Absolutely. And so I argue that if I had the opportunity, absolutely, I would pass to help the people who couldn't, right? To help my family who couldn't, right?